Let's offer our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? We started chapter
12, the devotional service.
Yes, chapter 12, devotional service. So this chapter began with Arjuna asking a question. What is Arjuna's question?
Which is considered to be better, worshipping the personal form of the Lord or the impersonal Brahman form?
Yes, exactly. This burning question, which even today is a source of argument, no, between the personalists and the impersonalists. So Arjuna is asking exactly that: which is better, worshipping the impersonal Brahman or worshipping in the personal form? Who is more perfect? Arjuna wants to know. And Krishna immediately in the very next verse, he gives a very clear answer, leaving no doubt in the mind of the reader. What does he say? That those who fix their minds on my personal form, they are most perfect. So immediately Krishna is answering. Then in verses 3 and 4, Krishna goes on to say, what is it that the impersonalists achieve then? So then Krishna says, the impersonalists, they do achieve me, but when at last. So it takes them many, many more lifetimes. But in Bhakti Yoga, it's this, at the end of this lifetime itself, one can attain the spiritual realm. So anyway, 3 and 4, Krishna says that they do achieve me at last. He doesn't say anything negative about impersonal realization or worship of the impersonal feature of the Lord. But immediately in text 5, Krishna is discouraging one by saying that this method is very, very troublesome. It is klesha is the word Krishna uses, klesha and dukkha, he says. So he says advancement is very troublesome. And it's very difficult for those who are embodied. Why it is difficult for those who are embodied? Because we have a body, we have a material body, right? So for us to think of a concept or to meditate on a concept that is formless is very troublesome. Therefore, to make life easier for us, to make us be able to fix our minds, therefore Krishna or the Lord accepts to be worshipped in the form of a murti. We saw how deity worship is a science, and the Lord accepts worship even in the form of a deity. And we saw some examples of how a deity reciprocates to the devotee. And then in 6 and 7, Krishna talks about how he is the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death for those people who engage in his devotional service, for those people who are devoted to him without deviation. So we understand here how Bhakti Yoga is a two-way process. We do what we can do, and Krishna does what we cannot do. So we just do the best we can. Whatever is missing, Krishna will fill it up for us because it is he himself who is recommending this process. With that, we ended the previous class. Today we have to start from verse number 8. Does anybody have a question from the previous class? Okay, let's go to today's session. We have a couple more slides which we didn't see in the previous class. I added them just a couple of days before, so let's read that. But before we begin, please repeat Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so who can volunteer to read today?
I can do.
Okay, Shreya, you'll do all or you'll do one?
Yeah, I can do all. That's fine. If anybody wants to read with me, that's fine too.
Okay. Anybody else wants to read or?
I can read with Shreya.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Shreya and Komal. So here, I would like to read this translation from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which talks about the glories of devotional service and how very important it is that we take it up. Let's read this.
Komal, you want to do the translation?
Okay.
Okay.
Translation. Pure devotional service in Krishna's consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds of thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is, intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay.
So see, pure devotional service is so precious, no? See that word, the Janma Koti Sukrati, Janma Koti, even after millions of birth, one cannot get the opportunity to do devotional service. It can be got only when one has the greed to obtain it. That's why when we receive an opportunity to engage in devotional service, we should grab it with both our hands and consider it that it is coming directly from Krishna. It is Krishna giving us the opportunity. This opportunity to render devotional service is not so easily available because Krishna knows that the only way that we can tie him, the only way by which we can bind him, the only way by which we can bring him under our control is by devotional service. So he is not going to give it easily to people who are not sincere. So when it comes to us, it is Krishna who is giving us the opportunity, and therefore we should grab it with both our hands. There is a very nice quote by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. Let's read this.
Do not give up devotional service even if there are innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassment. Do not become disheartened that most people in this world do not accept the message of unalloyed devotional service. Never give up your devotional service in hearing and chanting about Krishna, which is your everything. Always chant the holy name, becoming more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree.
So see, he says, do not give up devotional service even if there are innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassment. When we take to devotional service, when we become devotees, then there are, because we are in the domain of Maya, this material world is her domain, yes? And when we take up devotional service, we are declaring an open war against her. And she is perfect in her services, because this is a service that has been rendered to Maya to test the sincerity of the souls. So she does her service to perfection. And what are we compared to her strength? Therefore, she was going to bring about obstacles, hindrances in our path when we render devotional service. But we should continue to render devotional service despite all obstacles. That's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that do not give it up, despite innumerable dangers, countless insults, and endless harassment. We have the example of how Prahlad, his life was in danger. He was insulted several times. He was harassed so many times by his own father, but still he never gave up devotional service. If they can crucify Jesus Christ, the very person who came to deliver them, then what are we? So we also go through insults and harassment by friends, by relatives, by other contacts. Sometimes people make fun of us. Oh, why do you want to take to bhakti, enjoy life? We go through all these things. It's very common. But whatever it is, we do not give up devotional service, because it is the most precious object that we can get. Okay, so let's start today's section 2, progressive stages of devotion. Now we saw in section 1 how Krishna he glorifies devotional service. So the next question is, okay, how do I render devotional service? What is it that I have to do? So here Krishna is telling us what we can do, what we should do. He starts with the highest stage and then he goes lower and lower. So if you can't do the best thing, then he says, okay, then you do the next best thing. If you can't do the next best thing, then you do the next to next best thing. So like that, he takes us through different stages. Why? Because he's very merciful and he's all encompassing, and he wants to bring in everyone inside the circle of bhakti. Somehow or the other, come to Krishna. And therefore, he is like throwing a net within which everyone can get accommodated. He doesn't leave anyone out. So we will see what are these stages that he takes us through. But before that, we need to understand a few concepts. Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, Jnanonmukhi Sukriti, and Karmonmukhi Sukriti. Let's read what this is.
Sukriti means pious or auspicious activity. Pious activities can be divided into 3 categories: Bhakti, Unmukhi, Sukriti. Pious activities that awaken one's dormant Krishna consciousness, derived from devotional service. It may be knowing or unknowing. Agnat Sukriti means doing pious activities without knowledge. Mokshonmukhi or Gyanmukhi Sukriti. Piety derived from the cultivation of knowledge. They enable the living entity to merge into the existence of the Supreme. Bhogonmukhi or Karmonmukhi Sukriti, or piety derived from fruitive activities. These activities bestow material opulence.
So Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti awakens one's dormant Krishna consciousness. So why dormant? Because Krishna consciousness is already there. Love for Krishna is already there in each of us, because we are parts and parcels of Krishna. We are eternal servants of Krishna. So therefore, the dormant love for Krishna is there in the heart of every living entity. It's just that our hearts are covered by the contaminations of the material world. Therefore, we have not realized it yet, or probably someone has realized it, I don't know, but most of us have not realized it yet. So when we engage in devotional service, as we progress, then we are removing the dust from the heart, and then we revive our Krishna consciousness. That's why Srila Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. It is natural. Everybody is Krishna consciousness. It's not that something is being artificially imposed upon us. It is only natural. So this can be knowing or unknowing. So Agyata Sukriti. What is Agyata Sukriti? Means one is rendering devotional service unknowingly. For example, let's say somebody is a hardcore atheist and he opens a free hospital because he believes in social service. So he opens a hospital, and in that hospital, it so happens that a Vaishnava has received some treatment. Now he has done Vaishnava Seva, but he has done Vaishnava Seva unknowingly. So that is called Agyata Sukriti. Or somebody just happens to hear the holy name being chanted on the streets. Or somebody may just happen to see the cart of Lord Jagannath during a Rath Yatra festival. So this is all Sukriti that is done unknowingly. So it's called Agyata Sukriti. Now, Jnanonmukhi Sukriti, piety derived from cultivation of knowledge. This helps one to merge into the existence of the Supreme, which is attaining the or realizing the Brahma Jyoti. So that is Jnanonmukhi Sukriti. We saw, no, that we saw when we did the Yoga Ladder, we saw the Jnana Yogis, they attain the Brahma Jyoti. Karmonmukhi Sukriti, piety derived from fruitive activities. So when we do something but expect something in return, then it bestows material opulence. So one may attain the heavenly planets. There is no spiritual connection in Karmonmukhi Sukriti. In Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti and Jnanonmukhi Sukriti, there is a spiritual connection. Okay, but Karmonmukhi Sukriti is completely material, and it can only give us material opulence. So one may get to enjoy in the heavenly planets. Now, three categories of devotional service. There is Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. The highest stage when one does devotional service is Prema. When you see this list of 9, it starts with Shraddha. We have gone through this list before. It starts with faith. Then comes the association of devotees, also includes your association with the spiritual master. Under the guidance of the spiritual master, one performs devotional service, bhajana kriya. And as we do devotional service, then unwanted attachments, they decrease. One now no longer is so much interested in watching a cricket match or watching a Bollywood movie, which one would have been crazy about before starting his devotional service. So it's true, really, decreasing of unwanted attachments. It does happen. Then comes the stage of nishtha, steadiness. One is steady in his spiritual practices. Not that one day chanting 1 round, one day chanting 30 rounds. No. Nishtha, every day a fixed number of rounds. So one is steady in his devotional practices. Then comes the stage of taste, ruchi. Now the practitioner is looking forward to engaging devotional service. Well, now he begins to enjoy the chanting. So that is taste. He has developed the taste. Asakti, attachment. So now one is attached to the Lord. One begins to one is attached, and then that attachment next stage leads to love. There is some love for the Lord, and finally it culminates in prema, pure love for Krishna. So this prema is here in the third stage under the 3 categories of devotional service. Bhava is before that. And before one can come to the stage of bhava and prema, one has to practice sadhana bhakti, which is we practice, and by practicing and practicing and practicing,
Pika,
then we come
I'm
to
getting in
the
the pizza. You want one
prema.
or two? Huh? Yeah?
Okay, let's read this text.
3 categories of devotional service. Sadhana Bhakti, devotional service in practice. This is further divided into 2 parts. Vaidhi Bhakti, when there is no attachment or no spontaneous loving service to the Lord, and one is engaged in the service of the Lord simply out of obedience to the order of the spiritual master or in pursuance of the scriptures, such obligatory service is called Vaidhi Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti refers to the point at which, by following the regulative principles, one becomes a little more attached to Krishna and executes devotional service out of natural love. Although it is within the category of practice, this offering of loving service is spontaneous. Bhava Bhakti is devotional service in ecstasy, and Prema Bhakti is devotional service in pure love of Godhead.
Okay. Now let us go to 12.8.
मय्येव मन आधत्स्व Mayi buddhim niveshaya nivasishyasi mayyeva ata urdhvam na samshayah.
Mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus, you will live in me always, without a doubt.
So this is the highest stage that Krishna is presenting. What is it? Fix your mind upon me, Krishna says. Again, here he uses the word me thrice. Fix your mind upon me, engage all your intelligence in me, thus you will live in me always. So 3 times he's talking about how he is the object, he is the goal, and we have to fix our mind upon him. He's not talking about a third person, nor is he talking about fixing our mind upon the Brahman effulgence, nor Paramatma feature. He's saying, fix your mind upon me, the way he's standing there in the two-handed form. Yes. So this is the highest that Krishna is presenting, that this is what we should do. And if we do this, what is the result that we will obtain? Krishna says, according to this verse, what is it that we will get?
You will live
Thus you will live in me.
me.
Yes. So if we can fix our mind upon Krishna, engage our intelligence in Krishna, then as a result of it, we will be able to live in him always, without a doubt, says Krishna. So what Sukriti is this? Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, Jnanonmukhi Sukriti, or Karmonmukhi Sukriti?
Bhakti.
Bhakti.
Bhakti, yes, definitely Bhakti, right? Now, if one is not able to do this, then Krishna says, do the next best. What is the next best? Let's see.
Atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mamichhaptum dhananjaya.
Translation. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me.
So one may say that, okay, I cannot follow 12.8. I cannot fix my mind upon Krishna because my mind is very perturbed. My mind is very agitated. I cannot fix my mind upon Krishna. So then what to do? Then Krishna says, okay, if you cannot fix your mind, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. Follow sadhana bhakti. If you're not on the stage of bhava and prema as of 12.8, then you do sadhana bhakti. Follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. That's why then we take the training under the guidance of the spiritual master. Chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regulative principles. You follow this sadhana, and like that, slowly, we can come to the stage of bhava and prema. Now, as a result of this, what is it that we are going to obtain? Krishna says, what is the result?
And you will develop a desire to attain.
We will develop a desire to attain Krishna. Now, this stage, 12.9, is what Sukriti? Bhakti, Jnanam, or Karmam?
Jnana.
Okay, anybody else?
Still Bhakti.
Sukriti.
Bhakti. It is Bhakti. Yeah, because when we do sadhana bhakti also, it is still Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, because we are doing that to attain Krishna. Okay. Let's read this.
Text 12.19. If one cannot perform devotional service as per 12.8, fixing one's mind on Krishna without deviation, then practice sadhana. Follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. Benefit: develop a desire to attain me. 12.9 refers to those who have not developed attachment to Krishna. Purport: is love an external imposition? No. Love is dormant in all. Heart is contaminated by material association. Qualifications to practice is anyone can practice, and the guarantee of success is the surety of love of Godhead.
So we already discussed this, that how love is not an external imposition. It is dormant in the heart of every living entity. The only problem is the heart is contaminated by material association. Therefore, when we do sadhana bhakti, then we are removing the dust. The analogy that we have learned from Prabhupada is the mirror is covered with dust. Therefore, we cannot see our image in the mirror. But when we wipe out the dust from the mirror, now the mirror is clean. Now we can see our real image. So when we remove the dust from the mirror of our heart, when we remove the material contamination from our hearts, then only we can see that, see who we are, that we are eternal servants of Krishna. And being an eternal servant of Krishna means we have to render devotional service. So who can practice? Any qualifications? No qualifications. Anyone can practice. What is the guarantee of success? Success is guaranteed. Definitely we can attain success. See here, very nice quote from the Bhagavatam. Let's read the translation, Prabhupada.
Translation. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your costless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering your respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Purport. Sridhara Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna's consciousness, following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality of Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God.
So why is success guaranteed? Because see, here we learn how if we just remain in Krishna consciousness and we follow the regulative principles, we follow our sadhana, then automatically we become eligible to receive the mercy of Krishna. Automatically Krishna feels obliged to deliver his devotee. That's the reason why once we start off our devotional practices, even if we want to come out of it, we will not be able to come out of it. I don't know if I have given this example. There are many examples, but this one example has stuck in my mind, that there was this pujari in the temple. He was a chief pujari, but before he came to Krishna consciousness, he was an expert surfer and he would love to surf the waters. But after many years of his pujari services, somehow one day he felt that I want to go back to surfing. I want to go back to my old love. So he resigned from his duties as a pujari and he went back to surfing. The very first day he went for surfing, after having come out, after having resigned from his services, he sees a shark fast approaching him in the oceans. And because he's a pujari, he recalls all the prayers that could come to his mind, he started to recite. And somehow that shark decided to just walk past. The shark did not attack him. And then he realized that so many years I surfed the waters, never did I come across a shark. The first time I have come here after resigning my services, I see a shark in the ocean. So he understood that this is Krishna's indication that you better get back to your services. So Krishna is so merciful. Once we start off devotional service, even if we want to come out of it, somehow or the other, he will bring us back on track. And this is the experience with many devotees. This is not the only example. And also, in case we cannot complete 100% in this lifetime for whatever reason, in the next lifetime, at least the human body is guaranteed. Why human body is guaranteed if we start devotional service in this lifetime is because we carry on from where we left off. So if we have done devotional service even 10%, we have to start from 11% in the next lifetime. How will we do devotional service in the body of an animal or a tree or a plant how will we do it? So therefore we need a human body. So at least human body will be guaranteed if we begin with devotional services. That's how merciful Krishna is. Therefore success is guaranteed. Now when we talk about sadhana bhakti, what are the principles of sadhana bhakti? What are the practices one has to follow? So there are 64 items that are given by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. He speaks this to his disciple Sanatan Goswami, and then Sri Rupa Goswami, who is the brother of Sanatan Goswami, has documented it in his Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So let us go through these 64 items. Let's read.
Nectar of Devotion 6. How to discharge devotional service. Accepting the shelter of the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. Becoming initiated by the spiritual master and learning how to discharge devotional service from him. Obeying the orders of the spiritual master with faith and devotion. Following in the footsteps of great acharyas under the direction of the spiritual master. Inquiring from the spiritual master how to advance in Krishna consciousness. Being prepared to give up anything material for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. This means that when we are engaged in the devotional service of Krishna, we must be prepared to give up something which we may not like to give up. And also, we have to accept something which we may not like to accept. Residing in a sacred place of pilgrimage like Dwarka or Vrindavan, accepting only what is necessary or dealing with the material world only as far as necessary. Observing the fasting day on Ekadashi and worshipping sacred trees like the banyan tree. The next set of instructions is listed as follows. One should rigidly give up the company of non-devotees. One should not instruct a person who is not desirous of accepting devotional service. One should not be very enthusiastic about constructing costly temples or monasteries. One should not try to read too many books, nor should one develop the idea of earning his livelihood by lecturing on or professionally reciting Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita. One should not be neglectful in ordinary dealings. One should not be under the spell of lamentation in loss or jubilation in gain. One should not disrespect the demigods. One should not give unnecessary trouble to any living entity. One should carefully avoid the various offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord or in worshipping the deity in the temple. One should be very intolerant towards the blasphemy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna or his devotees.
So here we have 20 items. Let's see more.
The next important items are as follows. One should decorate the body with tilak, which is a sign of the Vaishnavas. In marking such tilak, sometimes one may write Hare Krishna on the body. One should accept flowers and garlands that have been offered to the deity and the spiritual master and put them on one's body. One should learn to dance before the deity. One should learn to bow down immediately upon seeing the deity or the spiritual master. As soon as one visits a temple of Lord Krishna, one must stand up. When the deity is being borne for a stroll in the street, a devotee should immediately follow the procession. A devotee must visit a Vishnu temple at least once or twice every day, morning and evening. One must circumambulate the temple building at least 3 times. One must worship the deity in the temple according to the regulative principles, offering arati and prasad, decorating the deity, etc. These things must be observed regularly. One must render personal service to the deities. One must sing. One must perform sankirtan. One must chant. One must offer prayers. One must recite notable prayers. One must taste Mahaprasad. One must drink Charnamrit. One must smell the incense and flowers offered to the deity. One must touch the lotus feet of the deity. One must see the deity with great devotion. One must offer arati at different times. One must hear about the Lord and his pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and similar books. One must pray to the deity for his mercy. One should remember the deity. One should meditate upon the deity. One should render some voluntary service. One should think of the Lord as one's friend. One should offer everything to the Lord. One should offer a favorite article such as food or a garment. One should take all kinds of risks and perform all endeavors for Krishna's benefit. In every condition, one should be a surrendered soul. One should pour water on the Tulsi tree. One should regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam and similar literature. One should live in a sacred place like Mathura, Vrindavan, or Dwaraka. One should offer service to Vaishnavas, special service. During Janmashtami, one should observe a special service. One should arrange one's devotional service according to one's means. In the month of Kartika, one should make arrangements for special services. During Janmashtami, the time of Krishna's appearance in this world, one should observe a special service.
So how many do we have so far? 39 plus. Initially we saw 10 and 10, right? So we have 59. How many are left to complete 64?
5.
5. Now after giving this list, now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives the top 5. What are these top 5? Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtan, Bhagavad Shravan, Mathura Vas, Shri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevana. So Sadhu Sangha, associate with devotees. Then Nama Kirtan, chant the holy name. So see, he has placed Sadhu Sangha before he has placed Nama Kirtan. So Sadhu Sangha, then Nama Kirtan, chanting of the holy name. Bhagavad Shravan, hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. Mathura Vas, reside at Mathura. And Shri Murtira Shraddhaya Sevaya, worship the deity with faith and veneration. These are the top 5 that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lists. Now, reside at Mathura, does that mean that the entire world population is going to reside in Mathura? How do we understand this?
Putting your mind by thinking that you are living in Mathura, like placing your mind always there.
Yeah, so mentally we can be in Mathura, very nice, in our consciousness. Okay, very nice. Any other way?
Reside at Mathura or like similar holy places.
I can't, I didn't understand you.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yes.
Yeah, so reside at Mathura or similar holy places like Vrindavan or Gokul or any other.
Okay, so we can reside in any dham, but if we, how many of us are residing in a dham right now?
Nobody.
So then?
Maybe with our thought, words, and action, we constantly think of Lord Krishna. That's how we are living in a holy place too, because he talks about thought, words, and your.
Yeah, so by our actions, by our thoughts, we can make the current place also a holy place. A devotee can create a Mathura wherever the devotee may be geographically present. So we can make our homes into a holy place. Yes, a devotee, wherever a devotee goes, that place is a holy place. So that way we can make any place of residence as a holy place. But we reside at a holy place, not in a sinful place like that. Okay, so these are the top 5. Now there is a very, very nice statement by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Now he gives all these 64 items of sadhana. And then he says that there are 2 rules, and all the rules and regulations mentioned in the Shastra, they are all servants of these 2 rules. What is that? Let's see. Let's read.
Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be servants of these 2 principles.
So which is the topmost? Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Every other rule is a servant of these 2 rules. So these are the principles of sadhana bhakti. Now Arjuna was in the middle of the battlefield. He had to face so many deadly weapons. He had to kill his own relatives, the very people whom he was very affectionate with, his spiritual master, his grandfather. And despite all that, Krishna told him that, think about me. So if Arjuna was told, and Arjuna had to think about Krishna in the middle of that situation, our situation is not so terrible, is not so horrible as that of Arjuna, isn't it? We are not in a Kurukshetra. We are not having to face these deadly Brahmastras, nor do we have to kill our own relatives or our teachers. Yes. So we have no excuse why we cannot think of Krishna. If Arjuna had to do it, definitely we can also do it. Or definitely we are expected to do it. So Srila, His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says, the goal of Krishna consciousness is not to be spiritually advanced. It is to be servant of Krishna. So this should be our goal, that we are the servants of Krishna, but we have to always remember that we are servants. We are not the masters. We are not here to dominate. We are not here to lord over material nature. Task-oriented versus people-oriented. So when we remember that we are the servants, then this entire movement, we understand that is people-oriented. No? We are not task-oriented. Material calculation is what the boss wants you to show results, produce the results. Okay, how much have you delivered? How much has the company earned from you? Task-oriented. They may not be people-oriented, but spiritual calculation, people-oriented. One may construct a huge temple, but in the process of constructing a huge temple, if he has hurt so many other people, if he has offended so many other devotees because of his aggressive nature, or because of harsh words, or because he says that, oh, you're not working properly, this is not right, that is not right. If he has hurt so many people, then what is the point? Krishna is not going to be pleased by you hurting the Vaishnavas, isn't it? At the end of the day, we are people-oriented. So when we remember that we are the servants, then automatically we become people-oriented and not task-oriented. So here in this verse, Krishna refers to Arjuna by the name Dhananjaya. He says, Mam Ichchaptum Dhananjaya. You will develop a desire to attain me. Why does he say Dhananjaya? Dhananjaya is one of Arjuna's names. It means one who has gathered wealth. Now Arjuna had gone and he had gathered wealth for his brother Yudhishthir. Therefore, he is called as Dhananjaya. He had gone to the neighboring kingdoms and he had got wealth for his brother. Here, Krishna is referring to him as Dhananjaya so that he can obtain the real riches, which is Krishna himself, which is remembering Krishna. So he's calling him. Therefore, he's saying, you can get me, O Dhananjaya, which is me is the real wealth. Therefore, he uses the word Dhananjaya. Let's read this translation from Bhagavatam.
My heart is always burning in the fire of material existence, and I've made no provisions for getting out of it. The only remedy is Harinam Sankirtana, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is imported from the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavana. How unfortunate I am that I have no attraction for this.
So, say Golokera Prema Dhana Harinama Sankirtan. So this Harinam Sankirtan, this chanting of the holy name, this is directly coming from Goloka, Golokera Premadhana. It is imported from the spiritual world. Therefore, when we chant, immediately we can connect to the Lord. We can also feel that connection. So this is a treasure that is coming directly from Goloka.
Are these lines from one bhajan? Golokera Premadana.
Yeah, it is used in a bhajan also. Yes, yes. And also it is often quoted by speakers. Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtan. Yes. Okay, so 8 and 9 primarily deal with engaging our mind. How? Because in 8, Krishna is saying, always think of me. In 9, he's saying, if you can't always think of me, do your sadhana. So when we do our sadhana also, our mind is engaged in Krishna. Because when we are, sadhana is like we are training our mind to do it. You know, it's not spontaneous, but we are doing it because we have promised our spiritual master in our initial stages. Because of that, every day I have to do 16 rounds. I have to follow the 4 regular principles. I have made a commitment, right? So it's like you're practicing, practice, and one day we become perfect. So in both 8 and 9, our mind is being engaged. Now somebody may say that I cannot engage my mind at all. So then what is the option that Krishna is going to present for us? Now even 9 deals with Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, because 9 also, when we are engaged in, we already discussed this, when we are engaged in devotional service, it is Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. And what is the result? Did we discuss the result in 9? Yes, develop a desire to attain me. So in 8, what was the result? We can live in Krishna. And in 9, we develop a desire to attain Krishna. Now let us see what Krishna has to offer in 10. What is the next best thing that he says?
अभ्यासेऽप्यसमर्थोऽसि मत्कर्म परमो भव मदर्थमपि कर्माणि कुर्वन् सिद्धिमवाप्स्यसि.
Translation: if you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage.
So we cannot engage the mind constantly, and we cannot engage our mind even in sadhana bhakti. All right, so engage your body, do the work, but do the work for me, Krishna says. Okay, so we do the work, but we give the results of the work to Krishna. And what is the result of doing this? Krishna says, you will come to the perfect stage. So this is also Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti, because we are giving the results to Krishna. So there is a connection with Krishna. So it is Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti. Let's read this.
Text 12.10 theme. If you cannot practice 12.9 sadhana bhakti, then engage all external senses for working for Krishna. Benefit, you will come to the perfect stage. Focus of learning, purport 12.10, how to perform work for Krishna. Based on Bhagavad Gita 11.55, sympathetic to propagation to Krishna consciousness. Example, every endeavor needs land, capital, organization, labor, like in any other business. Example, can build a temple or help in publication. B, if one cannot sacrifice results of his activities, at least sacrifice some percentage of his results.
So in Karma Yoga, when we give all the results to Krishna, then it is Nishkama Karma Yoga. But if you cannot do Nishkama, if you cannot give all the results to Krishna, then give some certain percentage, whatever you like to give at that particular stage. So that is called as Sakama Karma Yoga. And Sakama, we may give some fruits, but we may not give all the fruits. So either Nishkama, or if not Nishkama, then at least some percentage, Prabhupada says in the pulpit, you can give to Krishna. Let's read this.
Verse 10 refers to engaging our external senses in Krishna's service if we cannot engage the mind. Even if we are unable to think of Krishna, we can make progress by working for him. This platform is called Nishkama Karma Yoga.
Okay. Now somebody may say, I cannot give my results. I cannot give up the results to Krishna. So then what? Let's hear. 11.
अथैतदप्यशक्तोऽसि कर्तुं मद्योगमाश्रितः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं ततः कुरु यथात्मवान्.
Translation: If, however, you're unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated.
So now Krishna is saying you cannot give the results to me, then give up the results. Now he's not saying to me, he's just saying give up the results. So give up the results means what? It deals with philanthropic activities, orphanages, some social service, opening a hospital, feeding the poor. All this is philanthropy. So one may be an atheist. He may not believe in God, right? So he says, I don't believe in God. So why should I give the results to a person I don't believe even exists? But he may believe in helping humanity or humanitarian works. So then Krishna is saying, okay, if you cannot give the results to me, try giving up all results of your work. That's it. He's not saying to whom. He's saying give up the results. That's it. Then Krishna says, try to be self-situated. Self-situated means you try to understand who you are, what is your position. Okay, so now this is what Sukriti. Is this Bhakti Unmukhi Sukriti? Is this Jnana Unmukhi Sukriti? Or this is Karma Unmukhi Sukriti?
Karma Murti Sukriti.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is Karma Unmukhi Sukriti because it's only talking about work. And when we do humanitarian works, we are getting good karma, yes, but that good karma, because it is not connected to Krishna, because it is not a transcendental activity, because it is not a yoga process, because there is no connection with God, it will not take us to the spiritual realm. It will take us to the heavenly planets. And from there, we have to come back. So we are still in the material realm. Okay, that's why we always say that we must Krishnaize our activities. So anyway, what is the result of giving up all the results of our work? What is what benefit do we get? Does Krishna mention the benefit here?
You just become self-situated, right?
No, we don't become. He's not saying you will become self-situated. He's saying try to be
try
self.
to become. Okay, yeah.
So he's not presenting. He's not giving any result. He's not mentioning what you will get out of this. In 8, in 9, and in 10, he said what we will gain by doing what he said in 8, 9, and 10. Yes. But in 11, he's not even mentioning the result. Why? Because what are we going to get? We are only going to get material benefit. What is the result of Karmonmukhi Sukriti?
Material benefit.
Yeah.
We
so,
will not get entangled also, Mataji, with our karmic actions. If we do bad or good, nothing will affect because you have surrendered the result to Lord Krishna.
No, but here we are not talking about surrendering the result to Krishna. He's just saying give up the results of your work, not to Krishna. Here in 11, we are not giving the results to Krishna. So see again,
You will not collect more karmas, or you will become unattached.
Okay, let's go back to the slide.
But then what's the use of doing that?
Here, see, Karmonmukhi Sukriti, piety derived from fruitive activities. These activities bestow material opulence. So when we do activities, when we do humanitarian work, or when we do philanthropic work without any connection to Krishna, when we don't give the results to Krishna, we are just giving up the results. Okay. Then we get material opulence. How? By accumulating good karma, we can enjoy in the heavenly planets, but we are still inside the material realm. So
next birth you can get a human birth and your calculation starts from there.
No, human birth you will only get when you engage in devotional service. By doing humanitarian work, you cannot get human birth. By doing humanitarian work, by doing social services, you accumulate punya karma. You accumulate punya, but punya karma is different from bhakti. In punya karma, there is no connection with God. If somebody is an atheist, he doesn't believe in God at all. So there is no bhakti. There is no element of bhakti. But he believes in helping the poor and needy people. Now, let's just say somebody has opened a hospital and the poor people are receiving treatment and they are very happy they're getting cured from their disease. Now, what happens? They continue to live. They live longer. But in that life that they continue to live longer, they are engaging in sinful activities. So is it very good that they are living longer? Because they are getting entangled more and more in the ocean of birth and death. Yes or no?
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes. If I help someone, okay, let's say I help someone to get free treatment, and that person, after he has got treated, now he goes on to perform sinful activities. Was it very good that for him? Is it good for him and is it good for me?
It's good for you, but not for him.
It's good for me, but not for him. It is not good for either.
But why, Mataji, you did your best to serve him as a on a humanitarian grounds. You did your best to serve him.
Yeah, but if that
So
person,
obviously
yeah,
it
but
will
if
good
that
do.
person, yeah, so I get some good karma, but I may also take some opposite karma because I take some responsibility for that person's activities. Or if I sponsor a child's education, let's say I'm sponsoring somebody's education, but that child now he grows up and he becomes a terrorist.
But that doesn't mean that you'll like how that should be his karma, because you did your best in providing at that point of time, providing good education to him. You did your best. So why you have to be responsible for his bad karmas?
Because at some point we see, Krishna says that the law of karma is very complex. You cannot understand the law of karma. But if because of my action, somebody was encouraged, he grew big, and he has used his intelligence. So he has received education. So he has some intelligence. Now let's say he's become a scientist, but he's using his intelligence in the wrong path. He's using, because even the terrorist organizations, they also need scientists, right? They also need programmers. They also hack internet websites. So that intelligence, what he got, who has sponsored it? So we will have to take some percentage of that responsibility. So that's why it's very dangerous when we don't Krishnaize our activities. So social service.
Philanthropic work is also will not definitely give you a human birth.
No, it will not give you.
It's not guaranteed. Yeah,
No,
it's not guaranteed.
No, it can give you life in heavenly planets because you may get some punya karmas, but again you have to come back, and you can come back as an animal, bird, tree, anything. Okay, so
Then
this is
how
the
do we help someone? So like, how is it? I know, I remember like you giving an example that even if we are like distributing food to somebody, then we should distribute Krishna Prasad, right? But then how do we like help people? Like, should we not then help people? Because then if we find somebody on the road, we might be like, if we help them, they might use our help in wrong way or something.
Yeah, that's why I never give cash to anyone. You can purchase something and give the person. You can purchase some prasad,
Okay.
but I never give cash.
So it's not good to even
No,
donate
because the
something?
person may use that money to purchase drugs.
Mm.
Who knows?
Right.
So we have to Krishnaize. Yeah, yes, you can open a hospital. Very nice. It's good to serve humanity. Yes, very nice. You can help the poor, but in that hospital, you can give a little bit of spirituality as well. Like how we have ISKCON runs hospitals as well, right? So you can give in some element of spirituality. We have to bring in when we help others. We have to Krishnaize the activity. Dovetail the activity in Krishna consciousness. Put a nice cover and then give it. So anyway, Karmonmukhi Sukruti will bestow material opulence. So here, Krishna, coming back to our subject matter, here Krishna is not mentioning because it is material. He does not even mention what you get out of it. It's not important. Okay, but why Krishna says, if you can't give the results to me, give up results, because slowly, when we give up the results, let's say we are opening hospitals, we are opening old age homes, we are opening orphanages, etc. What happens? We develop detachment because our hard-earned money we are giving away. So at least we are developing detachment. And when we develop that kind of materialistic detachment, our mind becomes more receptive to hearing from Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So now our mind is purified and our mind is more open to absorbing transcendental knowledge. Now the mind can absorb transcendental knowledge. So if you can't give the results to Krishna, at least give the results. That way we will develop detachment. So, Krishna is throwing a net wherein he can put everyone inside the net and not leave anyone outside. See how compassionate and merciful Krishna is.
Mataji, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So, for example, like if you have a tutor, right, and you give your tutor is tutoring you and you're giving them money. Now, with that money, if they're purchasing, like they're meat eating people, they're purchasing meat and eating, so you will get their karma. Now, if you have given that money, offer that money to Krishna, and then you give that money, some amount of it, to the tutor, do you still accumulate their sins?
No, when we pay someone for their services, we are paying for the service. We are not giving it free of cost. So then we don't take the karmic reaction, because you have paid, you have received a service and you're paying for the service. That is different. But when we help someone, we are giving free of cost. So we have to take the responsibility.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Let's read this.
Text 12.11 theme. If you cannot practice 12.10, working in consciousness of Krishna, then try to give up all results of your work and be self-situated, philanthropic work. Focus of learning in 12.11. Reasons. One may be unable to sympathize for Krishna conscious acts because of social, familial, religious considerations or any other impediments. What is the hope or recommendation for them? Sacrifice the accumulated results to some good cause. Authority for such matter. Such procedures are given in Vedic rules. Many yagnas, special functions of punya, etc. How that helps. One may gradually elevate to the state of knowledge. Practical examples. Charity to hospitals or social institutions. Such sacrifices of hard-earned results purify the mind, and one can gradually understand Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so now let's see what we have seen so far and get a clear picture.
In the text 8 to 11, the spiritual results of each recommended practice have been described. By thinking of Krishna as described in text 8, we will always live with Krishna. By following the regulative principles of Bhakti as mentioned in text 9, we will develop a desire to attain Krishna. By working for Krishna as described in text 10, we will come to the perfect stage. No result, however, has been mentioned for following the practice Krishna recommends in text 11. The practice of giving up the fruits of work, unless those fruits are offered to Krishna, is not in and of itself spiritual, and it therefore does not yield spiritual fruit. So there's no need of doing the last, whatever he mentioned, right?
Yeah, that is the last stage. No, so of course we have to try and do the best, or at least
Yeah.
the second best, but we don't come to the last level. Okay, now 8, 9, 10, 11. Now we come to a very puzzling verse. Many devotees consider the Gita. Let's hear.
श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानाध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्.
Translation: If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind.
If you cannot take to this practice, engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. So engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge is Jnana Yoga. Okay. Now, if you can't take to this practice, now what does this practice refer to? If we consider that this practice refers to the practice of what Krishna said in 12.11, which was philanthropic work, then the understanding is incorrect, because philanthropic work cannot be better than Jnana Yoga. Why? Because Jnana Yoga means connection with the Supreme. And in philanthropy, there is no connection with the Supreme. So it's not possible that any yoga system is better than philanthropic activities. So therefore, this practice here, Krishna refers to the practice that he spoke of in 12.10, not in 12.11. What is the sequence of events? See here, we have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 together. So to understand, in 8, Krishna says, fix your mind upon me. If you can't fix your mind upon me, practice the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti. If you can't even practice the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti, then you work for me and give me the results. Now Krishna is saying, if you can't give me the results, just work. So 11 is like an offshoot of verse 10. Because in 10 he says, you work for me. If you can't work for me, Are Baba, just work. But give away the results. So 11 is like an offshoot of 10. And in 12, he continues from where he left off in 10. This is how we have to understand this. If we miss this point, then we will be going around in circles. Okay. So if you cannot take to this practice, which Krishna says in 12, he is talking about, this refers to the practice which he spoke about in verse number 10. Then what does he go on to say? Better than knowledge is meditation. So better than Jnana Yoga is Dhyana Yoga. And better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of actions. So better than Dhyana Yoga is Karma Yoga. So now again he's connecting to the Karma Yoga that he mentioned in verse 10. So now he's going from bottom to top, and he's again coming to the point of connection of Karma Yoga, which he spoke in text 10. And as a result of such renunciation, now what is the result of doing that renunciation, giving the fruits of our actions to Krishna? One can attain peace of mind. When we did chapter 5, we saw the peace formula. What is the peace formula we saw in chapter 5? Krishna said that if you understand that I am the owner of all the planetary systems, then there will be peace. Because everyone is fighting that this is mine, this is not yours, this is my piece of land, this is my property, right? This is my money, my, and for that there is war. But if we understand that Krishna is a supreme proprietor, he is the owner of everything, we are not the owners, then why would there be no peace? That is the peace formula we saw in chapter 5. So that's what Krishna is saying. When you renounce the fruits of your action, then by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. So see, this is the sequence. You can see the ladder there. Complete absorption, Krishna spoke of in 12.8. Then sadhana bhakti in 12.9. Then karma yoga, which he says in 12.10, you give the results to me. And again in 12.12, he brings in karma yoga. So here he connects, right? 12, he talks karma yoga and he's connecting the ladder. Then after karma yoga, he says that if you cannot give the fruits to me, then just give the fruits. So that is philanthropic activity. That is actually rock bottom. Because here he is continuing from where he left off in 12.10. And then again in 12.11, what he says, better than cultivation of knowledge is meditation. Better than jnana yoga is dhyana yoga. So now he's going from bottom to up. So long he was coming from up to down, but now in 12.12, he's going from down to up. So he's saying better than cultivation of knowledge is meditation. So better than jnana yoga is dhyana yoga. And better than meditation is renunciation of fruits of action. So better than dhyana yoga is karma yoga. So he again connects to karma yoga from where he left off in 12.10. Is it very confusing? Oh, it's okay.
Mataji, can you go to the previous slide? Yeah. So here in the synonyms, abhyasat, it says then practice. Where does practice come in the translation?
If you cannot take to this practice, if you cannot take to this practice.
And this practice would be?
12.10.
Okay. Which is, the 12.10 was, can you go back?
12.10 is give the fruits to me. Give up the results of your work to me.
Renounce to Krishna.
Yes, give the practice. Yes, work for me. In other words, work for me.
Okay, thank you.
So he's saying that jnana yoga is better than philanthropic activities. No, the other way around, right?
Jnana yoga is better than philanthropic activities. Yes, correct.
Jnana yoga is better than philanthropic activities.
Exactly.
Okay, because ultimately you will be able to reach me, but if you do philanthropic activities, you won't reach me.
Yeah, philanthropic activities, there is no word yoga there. Yeah. So there's no connection with the Supreme. But if you don't want to connect with Krishna at all, there is no yoga. You cannot give any result to me, like not even a certain percentage. So again, I said he may be an atheist, right? So at least engage in philanthropic activities. So that way you will learn detachment from what you own. Your hard-earned money, at least you're giving away. So then at least your mind will be more receptive to learning Shastra. Your mind is purified like that.
Okay, but then Jnana Yoga, but then if you cannot even do that, then Jnana Yoga is better than philanthropic activities.
Definitely, any yoga, any yoga, because yoga means you're at least, there is some connection.
Connecting to this.
Yeah. But better than Jnana Yoga is Dhyana Yoga. Better than Dhyana Yoga is Karma Yoga. Better than Karma Yoga is Sadhana Bhakti. And of course, the best is complete absorption, like that. So initially, he's coming from up to down. And then in 12.12, he goes from down to up. And then in between, he connects Karma Yoga. So that's why it's this 12.12 is the most puzzling verse for many devotees. Can we proceed?
Yes.
So now when we did the yoga ladder, actually we put karma yoga down, right? When we did the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita and we did the yoga ladder, we saw that karma yoga was placed below jnana and ashtanga. But now Krishna is placing karma higher than jnana and ashtanga or dhyana. Ashtanga yoga, dhyana yoga is the same thing. So why is that? Because in the yoga ladder that we saw in the first 6 chapters, as we go higher the yoga ladder, what is increasing? Detachment and knowledge is increasing. And here Krishna is placing the yoga systems according to the ease with which it can be practiced. Because karma yoga is easier to practice than dhyana and jnana yoga. Therefore, Krishna has placed karma yoga higher than them. It's easier to work and give the results to Krishna than to renounce and go to the forest and do the Ashtanga yoga process, right? Sit on the deer skin with a straight back and then practice pranayama and your inward breath and your external breath and all those things that we saw when we did chapter 6. Because it is easier to practice, therefore Krishna has placed it higher than jnana and dhyana in this section. Let's read the answer here.
Okay, why renunciation of fruits is mentioned as better than meditation? Although karma yoga is the lowest on the yoga ladder, Krishna says that it is better than meditation because it is more practical and it does not disturb the mind with harsh and impractical requirements for renunciation.
Okay. Summary of today's section, let's see.
Okay. Progression verses 8 to 12, text 8. Perfected devotional service, always remembering Krishna. Result, will live in relationship with Krishna. Text 9. Devotional service in practice. Performing sadhana bhakti and working for Krishna as Krishna desires in a temple atmosphere. Result, will develop desire to attain Krishna. Text 10. Nishkama karma yoga. Working with detachment and offering the fruits of our work to Krishna. Result, will come to the stage of devotional service. Text 11. Detached work. Working with detachment, but without offering the fruits of our work to Krishna. Text 12. Nishkama karma yoga will result in peace, or as described in the peace formula, Bhagavad-Gita 5.29, Bhakti. The following stages, which are lower than the Nishkam Karma Yoga stage, are also mentioned in this verse. Yoga and the lowest stage mention cultivating knowledge, Brahma Gnana. Still lower than Brahma Gnana and without a direct transcendental result is a method mentioned in text 11, detached work without offering the fruits to Krishna. Thus, Krishna has delineated the progressive gradations of spiritual processes and advancement.
Okay. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gives this very nice example. He says that if a person is in a deep, dry well, and Krishna is outside and he's extending a rope, and he says, okay, take the rope and come up. So he says, no, I cannot stretch myself. I cannot stand on my toes and I cannot cast the rope. He says, okay, I will lower the rope furthermore. So that's why Krishna is giving the next best option. He's lowering the rope even more. He says, okay, raise your arm, catch the rope. And the person says, no, I cannot even raise my arm. Krishna then he lowers the rope even further. Ultimately, he says, okay, just tie the rope around your waist. I will pull you out. So this is the analogy that Chaitanya Charan Prabhu gives. Krishna is giving him options. You do this. If you can't do this, then you do this. If you can't do this, then you do this. So whatever it is Krishna is saying, so he wants to put everyone under his shelter, under his net, and he doesn't want to leave anyone out. That's why he's giving all these options. Should we continue or should we stop? What do you think? Is it too much material? Huh?
It's good to digest what we learned today.
Okay, all right. So we'll stop here and we'll continue in the next class. The next class, we will complete the chapter, Krishna willing, and we'll see how far we can go. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Mataji. Koti koti dandavat
So
pranam
much,
sana
Mataji.
Mataji.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhasya Prabhupada sindhamaya vacha. Patitanam pavane Vaishnave namo namo. Thank you, Mataji. Shri Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All Bhakta Vrunda ki jai.
Jai.
Mataji, today's class little hard for me, be honest, Mataji.
Yeah,
Hare Krishna,
it
Mataji.
was hard for everyone, Mataji. Even for me, it was very hard. In slot 1, actually, we got really confused, and I completely blanked out when I did slot 1 actually today. So yes, it's 12.12 especially is puzzling. That's why we need guru, no? Because we cannot understand Shastra just like that. That's why we learn, we hear from our spiritual master and from Srila Prabhupada, and we understand, and that's how we can take Shastra. Otherwise, how will we understand? Very difficult. Anyway,
Mataji, we
let's.
hear from the senior Vaishnava, but still it is hard for us. That much the Buddhist Mataji.
I feel, Mataji, I nothing retained today in my mind.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we'll have to read and reread the purport several times and watch the recordings. That way we will understand.
I thought it was a very good class.
Okay.
You know,
You're intelligent then.
yeah, fruits of action, just focusing, understanding yoga ladder and the giving importance to, to renunciation to Krishna versus knowledge versus meditation versus the fruits of action. I think it's very profound.
Yes, very
It is
profound.
nice. Yeah, it is nice lesson, but it's very confusing. You go to on the ladder, at least I got confused. First you go from top to bottom, and then you go from bottom to top.
Yeah. So anyway, for us, what we need to know is always engage our minds in Krishna, and if we can't do that, then engage in sadhana bhakti. We don't want to worry about the other things. We don't want to go to the lower ladders of what Krishna has given us. We want to go higher. So at least we can sadhana bhakti, right? Follow the 4 regulative principles and chant our rounds, and that way Krishna will take us. The other things are for
Yes,
the others. We can focus on our sadhana, and Krishna will take us out of the well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mataji, koti koti dandavat pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji,